Chapter 4, The Subconscious. Imagine yourself holding a large bag filled with items. You carry around this bag everywhere you go. The opening of the bag is very narrow, so you can't see inside of it. The only way to find out what's in that bag is to put your hand in and trust that what's in it won't hurt you. Once you pull out what's in the bag, you become aware, and you now have two choices. 1, put it back in the bag, or 2, acknowledge it. You can live without knowing what's in there, but the longer you hold that full bag, the heavier it will get. I want you to picture that bag like your subconscious, the part that makes up over 95% of your brain function. Picture the stuff inside that bag as your hidden emotions. Many people are too scared to dig their hand into that bag, the subconscious, fearing what they will find. If you choose to not become aware of your feelings, over time, you will feel the weight of them. And when we ignore our hidden emotions, we teach our mind to suppress what makes us uncomfortable. When a positive projection comes out, I become aware that I am feeling confident or self-loving. When a negative one comes out, I realize that I have some healing work to do. I don't criticize myself when my projections are negative. I get excited that my subconscious wants to tell me something. Self-projecting isn't a bad thing. It is a way to discover how we truly feel about ourselves. When you become aware of them, you can react with, "Oh no, that's terrible," or get excited that you just uncovered something hidden. And now that you're aware of it, you can find tools to either learn to love those things about yourself or release them because they no longer serve you. So inner peace is never about being perfect. It's about being aware. Shadow self. The concept of the shadow self originated with psychologist Carl Jung. The shadow is a term used to describe the hidden aspects of the personality that the conscious mind has repressed or rejected. The shadow is a term used to describe the hidden aspects of the personality that the conscious mind has repressed or rejected, often due to social conditioning, trauma, or other factors. These repressed aspects of the self can include qualities, desires, and impulses that are considered socially unacceptable, shameful, or negative. According to Jung, it is crucial to recognize and integrate our shadow selves in order to achieve psychological completeness and individualization. He maintained that by making the unconscious aspects of ourselves conscious, we can confront and resolve inner conflicts, increase self-awareness, and ultimately lead more satisfying lives. Since Jung's time, the concept of the shadow self has been widely accepted and developed by other psychologists, therapists, coaches, and spiritual leaders. Today, it is a commonly used idea in the fields of self-improvement and personal development. It is important to understand that making mistakes or exhibiting certain negative behaviors does not define one's entire identity. For example, telling a lie does not make someone a liar, and acting controlling in a certain situation does not make someone a controller. Similarly, lacking compassion in a particular moment does not necessarily make someone toxic. We all have different shades of personality that can be positive or negative at various times in our lives. It is unrealistic to expect anyone to be perfect, constantly exuding happiness, despite what social media may convey. While positive emotions are desirable, it is important to acknowledge that we all experience a range of emotions in our physical and emotional existence. The reality is, we have to make peace with duality. Duality refers to the concept that there are two contrasting, complementary, or interconnected aspects or elements that make up a whole. It is often used in philosophy and spirituality to describe the nature of reality, consciousness, and existence. In the context of duality, these two aspects are often seen as opposing or contradictory, such as light and dark, good and evil, yin and yang, or masculine and feminine. However, they are also seen as complementary and interdependent, with one aspect needing the other to exist and balance the whole. We have to make peace with the contrast of night and day, darkness and light, and all of the pleasant feelings and unpleasant feelings within us. Picture yourself standing in a dimly lit large room with a lamp located in a corner. As you approach closer to the light, the intensity of your shadow deepens. You can see everything in the room, including your shadow. However, if you walk too far away from the light into the darker part of the room, you may become disoriented into the darkness and lose sight of what's in the room. Similarly, if you approach the light and cling to it, the surrounding areas become obscure. You will lose sight of things. Grasping the light will make the room become dark. So whether you are too close to the light or too far from it, it can hinder your judgment and situational awareness. Overall, this metaphor is highlighting the importance of balance and perspective. It suggests that too much or too little of anything can be detrimental, and that we should strive to find balance that allows us to see things clearly and navigate our environment effectively. We can compare this analogy to suppressing the subconscious mind. The closer we get to the light, the bigger the shadow. The more positive we try to become, the more darkness will surround us. The more negative we become, the more darkness will surround us. So although our awareness, conscious mind, is looking at this beautiful bright light, the fact is behind us is a huge shadow, the subconscious. Too positive or too negative can make us lose awareness. I'm not crazy about how society uses the word positive and negative when it comes to emotions. In society, positive means good and negative means bad. For energy to circulate inside a battery, we need both positive and negative energy. We do not think one side of the battery is good and one side is bad. We know that both are needed for energy to flow. The same applies for our emotions. Positive, sun and light, gives us energy, vitamins, and healing. Negative, moon and dark, gives us rest, repair, and healing. I've worked with countless amounts of people that tried so hard to be positive and suppressed the negative, therefore not owning their self-projections, and they all found themselves losing important relationships or things that they valued in their lives. Unawareness can cause disconnect between ourselves and others. I believe humans, above all, thrive in vulnerability and authenticity. To create true connections with others, vulnerability is essential. I understand authenticity is one of the hardest things to live by because it means being okay with being flawed. Spending prolonged periods under the sun can cause various adverse effects such as dehydration, sunburn, and headaches, and loss of energy. On the other hand, remaining isolated in darkness can lead to a deficiency of vital vitamins, resulting in low energy and depression. However, maintaining a balance of both, the energizing warmth of the sun and taking breaks in the shade to rest, heal, and sleep, can create a harmonious equilibrium in our body, mind, and soul. Similarly, constantly maintaining a positive attitude can make it challenging to empathize with others and ourselves when experiencing intense or contrasting emotions. This can turn into toxic positivity. This term is characterized by an excessive focus on positive thinking and avoiding any acknowledgement of negative feelings or experiences. Toxic positivity can be harmful because it can invalidate or dismiss the genuine experiences and emotions of others, making them feel as if their feelings or experiences are not valid or important. It can also create pressure to always maintain a positive facade, which can be exhausting and unrealistic. For instance, in the event of loss of a loved one, it is natural to feel sad or grieve, and suppressing these feelings would deny a fundamental aspect of human nature. Have you ever seen a baby without tears? We would never tell a baby to be positive when they cry, so why do we think it's okay to tell adults to not be negative? There are no such things as negative babies, just babies with emotions. If you don't like negative emotions, I would ask you, at what age did you start judging your negative feelings? We cannot fully experience the gratitude of the good times without the contrasting feelings to remind us of what the opposite feels like. The same goes for being struck in uncomfortable emotions. Balance is key. To overcome toxic positivity, it is important to recognize that it is healthy and normal to experience a range of emotions, including negative ones, and that it's okay to acknowledge and express these feelings. It is crucial to practice self-compassion and empathy towards oneself and others, and to create space for authentic emotions and experiences without judgment. When I do shadow work with my clients, one of the number one important aspects of uncovering your shadow self is owning your self-projections. Shadow work involves bringing those unconscious aspects of ourselves into conscious awareness, acknowledging and accepting them, and incorporating them into our personality. This process can involve various techniques such as self-reflection, journaling, meditation, coaching, therapy, and other forms of inner work. A lot of people believe that we have to heal the shadow when in fact we simply must integrate it. But because of society, our parents, our friends' standards, over time, we do end up pushing away all of the things that we don't like about ourselves. We push them down to our subconscious and create a dark shadow that comes out sometimes as self-projections. What I see in you is a reflection of me. Finding our shadow through projection exercises. Think back to the last time that someone got on your nerves or offended you. What happened? Jot down the events in 1 or 2 sentences. Describe the other person's behavior using 1 to 3 adjectives. Examples: inconsiderate, selfish, childish. Can you think of an occasion where you behaved that way yourself? Note it down in 1 to 2 sentences. One way to identify the parts of your shadow self that you dislike is to pay attention to what you dislike in others. By recognizing similar feelings or traits in other people that you find unappealing, you can begin to uncover the aspects of yourself that you may be trying to repress or deny. What are some of the shadow qualities or traits that you dislike or struggle with? Emotional self-projections, things I disapprove of. What did I feel about the other that I actually felt about myself? Presumption self-projections. What did I assume others liked or disliked that I myself liked or disliked? Knowledge self-projections. What ability did I expect others to excel or be good at or bad at that I myself may be good or bad at? Absolved self-projections. What actions or behaviors did I assume others were doing that in actuality I was doing? Remember, this exercise isn't about fixing anything. It's just about self-reflection. Being self-aware is crucial for several reasons. Firstly, it helps us identify our strengths and weaknesses, understand our values, beliefs, and motivations, and recognize areas where we may need to improve. This knowledge is essential for personal growth and integrating our shadow selves. Secondly, self-awareness helps us to make better decisions. By understanding our values and motivations, we can make decisions that align with our goals and avoid making decisions based on emotions or biases. Thirdly, self-awareness improves our relationships with others. By recognizing our own emotions and behaviors, we can communicate more effectively, resolve conflicts more successfully, and form stronger, more meaningful relationships. Do your best to embrace and integrate your shadow self into your personality. Recognize that these parts of yourself are a natural and normal part of being human. Everyone sees other people differently because everyone is projecting aspects of him or herself. Debbie Ford. What's in my box? We all hold a metaphorical box filled with labels of who we think we are. We aren't even what's in that box. These are just the things that we picked up along the way of our life journey. As we grow up, we learn about what's valued as good and what's not. We pick up information from our family, friends, movies, television, and social media. Over time, our box slowly starts to fill up with our own feelings, expectations, opinions, and emotions about ourselves. Here are some examples of self-loving traits that may be in someone else's box. I am a hard worker. I am capable of achieving my goals. I am a good listener. I am intelligent and capable of learning new things. I am a caring and empathetic person. Here are some examples of self-critical traits that may be in someone's box. I am not good enough. I always mess things up. I'm not attractive. I'm not smart enough. It's always my fault. If while growing up and developing your sense of self, you were surrounded by people who had loving, kind things to say, chances are your box is filled with loving emotions, thoughts, and opinions. And the opposite happens if you have people criticize you and judge you. Unfortunately, when we are the recipient of traumatic experiences and unsafe people, chances are our box gets filled with harmful traits about ourselves. When someone is mean to us and it affects us, it's because they saw us. When someone is mean to us and it affects us, it's because what they saw in us is a trait we put in our box and is now part of our identity. We would not get triggered if the underlying emotion it's bringing up within us wasn't already in our box. Introjection can impact a person's ability to regulate their emotions and express themselves. If a child grows up in an environment where their emotions are invalidated or dismissed, they may learn to suppress their feelings or express them in aggressive or inappropriate ways, which can contribute to anger issues in adulthood. Additionally, childhood stress can impact a person's self-esteem and sense of self-worth, leading to feelings of shame, guilt, or resentment that can fuel anger. For example, a person who experienced emotional abuse in childhood may struggle with feelings of inadequacy or worthlessness, which can trigger intense anger when their sense of self is threatened. Here are examples of internalizing labels. John graduated with honors and always did well in school and got accepted to all the top universities he applied to. Growing up, he never felt like his accomplishments were good enough for his dad. His father never validated his feelings or successes and always passed comments such as, "Don't act stupid," and that made John doubt himself. One day, he's having a few drinks in a bar and someone calls him stupid, and he yells at him in anger. John is very smart, but he owned someone else's self-projection of him because a part of him believed it to be true. He subconsciously had already felt like he was not smart enough, and the person in the bar triggered that unhealed part of him. Peter graduated and got refused to 2 out of the 3 universities he applied to. His parents not only celebrated his achievements, small or big, but would always ask him, "How do you feel about your grades?" which always gave him space to express his emotions authentically. The same situation happens in a bar where someone calls him stupid, but because he doesn't own those feelings, he disregards the comment and laughs it off. You see, what we put in our box can determine some of our adult triggers. When a person experiences stress, hurt, heartbreak, or even trauma in childhood, their developing brain can become hypersensitive to potential threats. This hypervigilance can be evident and oftentimes subconscious, which in turn can manifest as anger, as the person may overreact to criticism, neglect, or others' perceived dangers. It can be difficult to let go of resentment or anger towards people who have hurt us in the past. However, it is important to recognize that as adults, we have the power to take control of our own lives and behaviors, regardless of our upbringing or past experiences. Here are some steps that you can take to start the healing. Recognize the impact of your upbringing. Acknowledge that your upbringing may have had an impact on your beliefs, behaviors, and thought patterns, but it doesn't define who you are as a person. Understanding the root causes of your behaviors can help you take steps towards change. Practice self-compassion. Instead of blaming yourself, your parents, or anyone that hurt you for your behaviors, practice self-compassion and recognize that you are doing the best that you can with the resources and knowledges that you have at that moment. Treat yourself with kindness and understanding. Take responsibility for your actions. While your upbringing may have had an impact on your behaviors, it is ultimately up to you to take responsibility for your actions and make changes in your life. Recognize that you have the power to change your thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. Seek help. Consider seeking the help of a mental health professional to work through any underlying issues related to your upbringing and to develop healthy coping mechanisms. Forgive others if and when you're ready. Forgiveness is a powerful tool for letting go of resentment and anger. Forgiving people that hurt you does not mean condoning their actions or behaviors, but rather releasing yourself from the painful emotions that may be holding you back. What we fail to realize is that everybody is self-projecting all the time. These subconscious feelings, thoughts, and opinions that others have about themselves are projected onto you when they do not have the ability to self-reflect. So oftentimes people will criticize us and say that we are a specific way when in fact they are reaching into their boxes and handing you their own thoughts, feelings, and expectations about themselves. We can choose whether we want to hold those opinions and put them in our own boxes and now own those labels, or we can reject them. Since the beginning of time, people have been trying to change the world so that they can be happy. this hasn't ever worked because it approaches the problem backwards. What the work gives us is a way to change the projector mind rather than the projected. It's like when there's a piece of lint on a projector's lens. We think that there's a flaw on the screen, and we try to change this person and that person, whoever the flaw appears on next. But it is futile to try and change the projected images. Once we realize where the lint is, we can clear the lens itself. This is the ending of suffering and the beginning of a little joy and paradise. Byron Katie. If this chapter helped you understand yourself just a little bit better, hit the like so that YouTube knows to share this with more people who need it. Subscribe for the rest of the books, readings, self-awareness tools, shadow work, and boundary conversations. And turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter when it drops. I've also linked the book on Amazon in the description if you'd like to read along or support the author. Stay amazing, stay awesome, and remember, always keep it real.